Alright, so welcome back to my channel, you guys. I want to go ahead and do a whole video on concealers. If you guys don't know, when it comes to my makeup routine, my favorite thing to do is concealer because I feel like you can do your foundation, your brows, and everything else, but once you put on your concealer, it just brings the whole entire look together. So I was looking at my whole entire collection, you guys, and I noticed I had a lot of concealers. Honestly, I don't need all of this, but at the same time, I'm a hoarder when it comes to concealer, so I couldn't help it. But some of them I do like and some of them I don't like at all. So with that being said, you want to go ahead and see what they are, then go ahead and keep on watching. So I didn't know how I want to do this video at first, you guys, but I do think I want to do drugstore versus high-end, and the first two I want to talk about is Maybelline, of course. If you guys don't know, I love Maybelline. I love the concealers. I feel like when it comes to drugstore, they kind of have the best. Alright, so the first two I do have is the Maybelline Fit Me concealer, of course, and the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind. Now, when it comes to these two, they're a little bit different. I feel like this one, the Instant Age Rewind Eraser Dark Circle Concealer, it's such a long name. This one's a little bit more on the light end. It's not very full coverage at all, but if you're going for like that everyday makeup look, I do recommend this because it looks good underneath the eyes. But I do notice that I use a lot of product with this because I have to build it to that coverage that I do want. So I use this on like my no makeup days, but my everyday makeup, you guys, I don't really reach for this. But on the other hand, I do go for my Maybelline Fit Me because this is a very creamy concealer, but at the same time you can definitely go ahead and build this up, but it just applies underneath the eyes so well. It just looks very smooth underneath the eyes. It's creamy, it's very blendable. I'm gonna be using a lot of those words, you guys, when it comes to concealers, but this is like my favorite concealer when it comes to drugstores. So these two I highly recommend. I'm sure a lot of you guys have tried this out already, but Maybelline, y'all kill it when it comes to concealers. Okay, so these next concealers, you guys, if I'm very honest, I'm not in love with these at all. And these are the LA Girl Pro concealers. They're high definition concealers. I do have it in the shade Toast, dark cocoa, and also the orange corrector. Now when it comes to the orange corrector, I will say I do like this. It's not my favorite out there, but it's very cheap and affordable, so I do like this. But when it comes to underneath my eyes, I noticed with this, you guys, they don't last as long, and I know a lot of people do like this product, but at the same time, you guys, it doesn't last as long underneath the eyes. It's not very full coverage. I don't like the way it blends underneath the eyes, and I know they're so cheap and affordable, but for me at least, I don't ever reach for this. I used to use it when I was younger, like in high school and middle school, of course, because I mean I didn't have money back then, y'all. But as I got older, you guys, and I tried more products out there, I realized these weren't the best. But when it comes to contouring and also using the orange corrector, I do love it for that. But as your under eye concealer and highlighting, I really don't recommend these at all. So I only have two more drugstore products to talk about, and the first one is the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Full Coverage Concealer. And with this, you guys, I have such a love and hate relationship with it because it's very creamy, it blends out well and everything like that, but at the same time it oxidizes so bad on my face. I'm sure you guys have heard the story a million times at this point when it comes to me and my story behind this, but I will put it on my face. It will look really good. I do have it in the shade C13, but throughout the day I noticed it was getting very orange and red on my skin, and I was just like, what am I using? Like, this cannot be the foundation, so it has to be the concealer. So I have tried this multiple times and I just don't like it. I've tried to use it as a contour and also as a eye primer and whatnot, but it just doesn't work for me for anything, you guys. So I never reach for this. I know a lot of people like this product, but you guys, like, when it comes to me personally, I don't reach for this at all. All right, so the last one I do have is the L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear Concealer in the shade Honey, and this concealer, you guys, is really good. It's very full coverage underneath the eyes, and I love the wand also because it's so different and unique. Kind of reminds me of the Tarte Shake Tape, of course. They're very similar, but I do love jumbo concealers. I don't know what it is, but applying it on the face, I find it a little bit more fun. But with this, the shade is just a little bit off on me. I notice I don't reach for this as much because the shade is a little bit more on the pinky neutral side, and when it comes to my concealer, I do prefer a more golden highlight concealer. So with that being said, as much as I love the formula, you guys, I don't ever use this because of the shade. The shade above is a little bit too dark and the shade underneath is a little bit too light. So if they release like one more or two more shades, I'll probably use this a little bit more. But when it comes to drugstore, you guys, I will say my two favorite, of course, is the L'Oreal concealer. I love this application. I love the way it applies on the face, and also my Maybelline Fit Me. These two are the ones I always recommend when it comes to drugstore. They've never failed me. With this, of course, the shade is a little bit off, but at the same time, I do love the formula. And oh, I just realized I forgot about one drugstore concealer, and it's a NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop concealer in the shade Mahogany. Now, when it comes to my under eyes, you guys, I really don't love this as much just because it's a little bit too matte, a little bit too paint like, because once you put it on, it is not coming off at all. But if you're looking for a concealer that has coverage, that won't move, that won't budge, that controls your oils, this is the concealer. I don't know what they put in this, you guys, but it is just a different formula for what I've tried out there. So I mostly use this concealer on my no makeup days because it covers up all my dark marks, all my acne marks, and my dark circles. So it does all of that, you guys, but I don't use it every single day just because it's very like matte and cement like, because it's not moving at all. So with that being said, I do love this. I do recommend this. But I love it mostly on my no makeup days. So when it comes to high-end concealers, I have a lot. It is ridiculous. I honestly don't even need this much concealers, but you guys, I do have a problem. Like, I realize I have a problem. So I don't even know where to start right now. I'm just gonna pick a random one, honestly. So I'm gonna first start off with the two that I don't really use at all, just because with these, I think the undertones are a little bit different, a little bit off. I kind of like the formulas of this, but I just don't like the color. So it's a little bit different. So I do have the Amazing Concealer in the shade. I can never find the names of this, you guys. Dark Caramel. Now with this shade here, let me swatch it for you guys and show you what it looks like. I feel like it's very neutral and light for my skin tone. It doesn't have any golden undertones to it. It's a very pinky concealer. And when I blend it out, y'all can see what it looks like. I feel like with this underneath my eyes, it's just going to look very ashy, and it just makes my whole skin tone look very light, and I don't like that at all. I do love this formula because it's very light on the face, but at the same time, it's very full coverage, but with the shade, of course, you guys, I never ever reach for this. And the next concealer is very similar to it. It's the It Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye Concealer in the shade Deep. And I do have the small version. I do have the big one, but I don't know where I placed it. But I noticed with this, I also have the same issue because it's a little bit light, you guys, and a little bit too neutral for my skin tone. And this is what it looks like next to the other concealer. But I will mention, you guys, these are very full coverage on the face, but they also blend out and look like skin. So I do like that about it, but I do wish it had different shades. So these next two are very similar because they're both waterproof and they don't move at all. And the first one's a MAC Pro Longwear Concealer in the shade NW40. This is such an OG product. I'm sure you guys already know about this concealer, but if you're looking for a very matte concealer that doesn't move at all, that doesn't budge at all, I highly recommend this. But the only thing I will say about this is the shade. I don't know what it is, you guys, but like the shade is a little bit off to me. I used to use it all the time, you guys, like all the friggin' time, but I noticed I didn't really like the way it looked on my skin tone, at least. But this is what it looks like blended out, and honestly, it's not that bad, so I don't know why I stopped using it. It's been some years now. But I love the way it applies on the skin. It looks so smooth and so nice. Make sure you go ahead and blend it out really quickly, because if you don't, you guys, it is not moving at all. And moving on to the Smashbox Studio Skin 24-Hour Waterproof Concealer. I do have it in the shade Dark, of course. And with this, you guys, I love the way it blends out, because even though it's waterproof, it does give you a little bit of time to blend it out underneath the eyes. And the shade also is my favorite because it does have like that golden undertone that I'm always looking for. And when you do blend it out, you guys, it's very full coverage. You can already feel it drying on the skin just like 10 seconds after I apply that. You can already feel it drying on the skin, but I love the way it looks, and it also looks like skin. That's another thing, you guys, because with a lot of matte concealers, they kind of look a little bit cakey, but with this, I will say it looks like skin underneath the eyes. So I will say these concealers are best for those who do have oily skin, of course, because it doesn't move at all, you guys. It's very matte on the skin, but at the same time, it still looks like skin, and that is the biggest thing, you guys, because I don't like a concealer that looks, you know, very cakey on the face. I just don't like that look. So these two, if you have oily skin, I do recommend these. Alright, so moving on to Nars, I do have their Soft Matte Complete Concealer in the shade Amande. And when it came to this, you guys, I kind of get sad because I was so excited for this because it's more geared towards oily skin. But at the same time, when I tried it out, I didn't love it underneath the eyes, just because I think the pot texture is a little bit too... It's not as creamy as a liquid concealer, so it doesn't blend as well underneath the eyes. I noticed with this, I was creasing a lot. It didn't look smooth at all. It looked very cakey underneath the eyes, at least for me. And I've tried it multiple times. I don't hate it, but at the same time, I don't like it. But because I spent so much money on this product, you guys, I still use it as an eyelid primer or to cut my crease. I still use it for that because I don't want to waste money. But for my under eyes, you guys, I really don't like this as much. Okay, so moving on to Urban Decay, I do have their Naked Skin Concealer in the shade Dark Golden. Now, if you guys remember back in the day, this used to be like everyone's favorite concealer in the whole entire world. I even loved it at that point, but I still have the same one that I had, I want to say 4 years ago, and I haven't bought another one. Now, I started by saying that it's a very light to medium coverage concealer. I like the way it blends on the skin, very nice and creamy, but I don't know, y'all. Again, it's a shade. I don't know what is concealers, but if I don't like the shade, I just cannot use it at all. So the shade is a very nice golden concealer, but at the same time on my skin, when I blended it out, I noticed I looked a little bit too on the neutral side. Just something about it is a little bit off, so I stopped using it completely. So if you guys notice, when I blend it out, you can kind of still see my skin peeking through, just because it's a very light to medium coverage concealer, like I said before. But yeah, it just, I don't know, with concealers, I can love the formula, but if I don't love the shade, I just cannot use it at all. And trust me, I have tried the one above it and below it, and I just couldn't find one that I really liked. So I don't know if people still use this at all. If you do, please let me know down below, but I just don't hear people talking about this anymore. So these last three concealers are my favorite concealers in the whole entire world when it comes to drugstore and high-end, but especially high-end. I don't know where to start, but I will first start off with the Fenty Beauty concealer, their soft matte concealer. Is it soft matte? No, Pro Filt'r concealer in the shade 410. Now this concealer, you guys, I love it for my under eyes. I love it to contour with. I love it for my lids especially. I still use it underneath my eyes, and I still love the way it sets and whatnot, because if you do have oily skin, this is a really good concealer. But the reason why I really love this is because when it comes to setting the lids, you guys, as an eyeshadow primer, this is bomb. Now the reason why I do love the concealer on the lids is because once it sets, you guys, it's a matte to powder finish, and it allows for the eyeshadows to blend on top. They still look very pigmented, and it just blends really well, you guys. And I just kind of discovered this about a week or two ago, and once I found that out, you guys, I was so happy because I didn't really have an eyeshadow base that I really love. So once I found this, it was game over. Now moving on to Cover FX, I do have the Cover FX Power Play Concealer in the shade ND2. Now this concealer, you guys, I do want to mention, I think it's my favorite concealer in the whole entire world, because the way it blends underneath the eyes is so beautiful. It looks so smooth and so flawless, and it does give you a little bit of playtime, because when it comes to blend out your concealers, a lot of the concealers I do have, I have to blend it out really quickly, but with this, you guys, I can take my time, blend it out and whatnot, and it doesn't crease at all. That is the biggest thing. It doesn't crease underneath my eyes at all, so I love this so much. I want to go ahead and try this one and the new one that I just bought, but I will say this one, you guys, is just still my favorite. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and repurchase it because I've been using other concealers, but this one, just something about it I don't know. So the very last concealer I do have is a Too Faced concealer. They're Born This Way multi-use sculpting concealer in the shade Chestnut. And I told you guys I'm a little bit late to the game. I should have been had this. I should have been used this, but I literally got this about a week or two ago, and I am in love with this. This concealer is very full coverage underneath the eyes. I noticed with this, I don't need to use a lot of products. I put like 2 stripes underneath the eyes, and that's it. I don't really need a lot with this concealer because it goes 0 to 100 really quick, you guys, and I have to be careful because if I use too much, it will look a little bit cakey, but if I use the right amount, it looks so nice underneath the eyes. And I told you guys before, I got the shade Mahogany, and that was too dark for me, and for some reason I thought Chestnut was going to be too light. And of course I do have it on my face today, you guys, and it looks absolutely flawless. But I do want to mention one thing. I don't know if it's this formula, but I do notice it creases a little bit underneath the eyes. I have tried so many things out, but it still creases for me, so let me know down below if you have any tips and tricks because I'm kind of struggling with that. But besides that, you guys, I really do love this concealer. So that was my entire concealer collection. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I talked about a lot of concealers, but I do want to tell you guys what is good out there and what's not so good, so you can go ahead and spend your money on the right thing. So I do hope you enjoyed this video. But with that being said, I love you guys so much. Don't forget to like, subscribe on your way out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.